can't talk about murdering people. That is wrong.
No, I don't have any.
She wasn't necessarily going to murder them. She was just going to abduct them.
Oh, that's true.
That's what she's got
bread
bunker
and
for.
water.
The bunker is just for fun. I mean, you know.
Whoa. What have you put in the bunker now?
It's like 50 Shades of Grey. Like,
yeah, I'm imagining some sort of dungeon style. Lot of
swing.
chains. Yeah.
It's not that big. It's just.
She's growing marijuana. That's what it is. She's waiting for it to be legalized, and then she'll have like a foot through the door.
Oh my god, it's not that big. We're talking about a wine cellar.
Come on. I'm thinking. Have you seen the what is it called? The Gentleman on Netflix?
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what you've got there, Indi, isn't it? You've basically got like
that's
massive.
pretty epic.
Yeah.
She's dug under every other person's house around or garden in the street.
Yeah.
It just extends.
They all had bunkers and they didn't even know it until I've just connected them all together.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's house is slowly subsiding.
No, the bunkers were at the end, guys, not under the houses.
Oh, there you go. That's perfect.
Of course. I forget that you have land, and so you have to get to you have to get a car to your bunker.
It's perfect. It's perfect for the analogy because she's like the landed gentry in the Gentleman.
Yes,
definitely not. It's not that big. It's a small
Are you
cupboard.
sure? It's not that big. It's only 3 or 4 acres.
Can't even fit a swing in it. What sort of life is this?
Edit. Lee, can you edit that it's not that big comment just for future use? Can you just save that bit?
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Digitals in a Cruel World podcast. We are delighted to bring you another episode with the latest updates, news, information, and interviews. As always, we'd really encourage you to like and review our podcast, follow us, etc., to get the latest episodes, and of course, provide us with some feedback. Ryan, how the hell are you doing? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Can't complain. Had a bit of a break. So have been actually felt a bit out of the loop with everything tech related for the last week. Not as much as when I missed Accountex and felt like everything had progressed 10 years without me around. But no, it's been a good time. So yeah, I'm now catching up. I'm going to be learning on this show as much as every other listener.
Amazing. And I mean, to be fair, Indi and I have absolutely delighted that you took a break because it meant that you haven't been nagging us for ages. Isn't that right, Indi?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Ryan, we love you, but it's been a lovely little holiday, hasn't it, John? Now and again, we just reply with one emoji, and before that would really hurt your feelings, but now you seem to like the one emoji response.
It's almost like we've conditioned him to accept that, haven't we? It's like some sort of Stockholm syndrome.
Ryan, the other day, I did fall out with John over the one emoji response, and he literally replied to me and said, I gave you the Ryan response. Sort of like, be quiet.
You know, it feels
very
true. Quiet, Indi, without telling you to be quiet. Just
thumbs up. It's a guaranteed acknowledgement of the message. What more do you need?
That's true. I mean, it is you.
Admittedly, Indi, I get more, at least a response from John. John puts an emoji. I just get blanked by you.
Silence.
I don't think that's entirely true, Ryan.
Then it just becomes a torrent, doesn't it? It's like we've not heard from Indi for like 3.5 weeks, and it's like
turns on the tap, 20 messages.
I really don't think that's true at all. I think every other week I'll give you a torrent anyway.
Yeah, it's a little bit like, do you know when you're on holiday and like the Alps and you go swimming in like those sort of glacial rivers, and then there's always this warning sign saying, just listen out for the sirens because they have like dams higher up the river where they like, open them up. It's like, just be aware. That's what it's a bit like. It's like swimming in an alpine river with Indi. You get nothing for a long time, and then it's just gets swept away.
And John, do you think this is getting
worse? Can you say that? That is literally that is what I get from you. Silent.
From me? Swept away. You get swept away, do you? That's good to know. I'm glad you appreciate it. You'll find more about it in your aura.
I get blown away. Literally blown away by your level of like sophisticated intelligence, your depth of knowledge, your charisma, your ability to carry a tune, his aura.
My chakra, everything else.
Chakra, everything feels aligned.
My yin and my yang.
Mm-hmm.
It's enough about his yang.
So kicking off this week in app news, Bright acquires My Workpapers. So My Workpapers was launched back in 2009 as a flagship auditing application, and has since evolved into a full suite of specialized work papers for different types of engagements that are undertaken. And Bright has added it to its family of different apps. So that was something that was a huge congrats to My Workpapers, and well done to Stephen Murdoch and Richard Neal on the acquisition.
Yeah, I mean, this is an acquisition that's been in the works for a long old time, because I think My Workpapers has probably been up for sale for almost 2 years. There's been lots of rumors about who may or may not be acquiring them. I think there were quite a few suitors who'd had conversations with them in lots of different areas of our app ecosystem. So, yeah, great to see that they've landed with Bright Group, of course, backed by PE money from HG Capital, and we know that Bright have got to kind of get this whole holistic set of practice suite of tools pulled together and in the cloud, ready to go. So this is one more little option in the chain of products that they had to piece together, I guess.
Do you know if Bright has finally made BTC cloud friendly?
I'm not quite sure where they're at with BTC, but I would expect an announcement fairly soon, because again, I think if I remember rightly, when the HG investment happened, they were saying that they had 2 years to effectively turn it around, and that was more or less 2 years ago in terms of getting all of this collective group of products together in one place under one brand and in the cloud.
That's why I'm curious. Let's figure it out.
I've got some news on Dextension. So if you've been living under a rock or not listened to any of our podcasts, you'll have no clue what Dextension is. But hopefully you'll be aware that it is a play on the term Dext. So basically, Dext have built a Google Chrome browser extension, hence Dextension, to enhance its integration with Xero and QuickBooks Online. It was announced in autumn 2023, and there was a number of people that were using it. I know we at Scrum Bland have been using it for a little while. Part of our outsourcing offering uses Dext and Xero quite heavily, and Dextension superpowered that integration. So if you're unaware of this, definitely check it out. I think it's one of the best enhancements of two different products working together. Now, there was a bit, I guess, of disagreements maybe, or different views of how this should be brought together from Xero and Dex working together. I think Dex kind of built it, and then Xero and Dex had to talk about how they launched it, but it is now out there fully, and you can use it if needed. What does it do? Essentially, it will look at transactions that are indexed, look into the matching transactions in Xero if you're in Xero, and then feature information that's indexed and vice versa. So, for example, for each bank transaction, Dextension will look for a statement or remittance that matches the date, the amount, and the supplier name. If it finds one, it will display a little paperclip so the users can bring it up on the screen. So you can see the transactions that are indexed from inside the bank reconciliation page of Xero. There's lots of other little enhancements that have been growing out. It started as an integration to Xero. They built it into QuickBooks Online. So if you're using either product alongside Dext, I definitely advise playing with this. The only negative I've seen is you can easily drag transactions in via the Dextension browser. You can just throw it into the browser, and you can kind of use it in Dextension. But if you're using other products such as SharePoint, there was a bit of overlap there. If you wanted to get into SharePoint, it was getting confused at times, and Dextension was trying to pick it up. I think they may have resolved that, but be aware of it. There are, or at least were, some nuances with the product that may affect other systems that you are using.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great news to see the formal launch of Dextension, because, like you, Ryan, I'm a huge fan. I've been using it in beta for a long time, and I think this is the future of how apps overcome maybe the overwhelm effect that people keep talking about, and bringing more of their feature sets more widely integrated into the user experience of the core product that you're in. So Xero, QuickBooks, etc., for example. So brilliant news, and let's see more of this from other vendors, please.
I've got some from AirWallex. So AirWallex have now integrated with QuickBooks to provide multi-current reporting. AirWallex is a global payments and financial platform that offers different forms of card issuance or cross-border payments and card capabilities. and they've now integrated with QuickBooks bank feed integration. So AirWallex customers can connect and sync their AirWallex transactions across a number of supported currencies. It's a good win for eliminating data entry and speeding up the reconciliation process. Given they have quite global customers, things do tend to get quite complex and onerous. But with this integration, you can now sync cards, FX payments, and transfer transactions across AirWallex's currency balances using the QuickBooks multi-currency feature. Leverage the OAuth connection service for enhanced security when authorizing automated transaction syncing between QuickBooks and AirWallex. And again, just in general, avoid data entry tasks and potential errors that could result in updating across the system. So it's a nice complement to the existing QuickBooks integration for AirWallex's bill pay and expense management products that they've already got.
Yeah, it's good to see AirWallex building out deeper integrations into the main finance systems. I think they're becoming a bigger player, really, especially in the foreign currency payment space. So, yeah, can't wait to see them build that out further. I've got something from a member of the Systems Advisory Network. So if you're unsure what that is, anyone that does digital transformation work, they can join our community that we basically run that helps support anyone via research, collaboration. And a member of that team is Sam King from Thorn Widgery. He has built out a team at Thorn Widgery called Xero For Education, and to enable, I guess, Xero to work really effectively for the academy sector, they have built out a XFE app that enhances Xero and the information inside Xero. That XFE app is now on the Xero App Store. Now, I believe they released this app years ago, and it shows the amount of steps you have to go through to launch on the Xero App Store. Now, it's something that's been used by hundreds of academies for quite a while, but you have to jump through a lot of hoops to be on the Xero App Store. So there's lots of apps that integrate into Xero that are not on that App Store. If you can't find an app that's right for you, you need to reach out to someone that understands the space and they can assist. But great to hear that the XFE team now have an official Xero app.
I mean, that's pretty awesome, isn't it? I'm hoping the next time we see Sam, he's got some kind of like badge or cape or something that to reflect this newfound status. So congratulations to him and the team, because it's great news. Moving on as well to something a little bit different from NetSuite. They have launched a healthcare solution, which they say is there to take advantage of the latest advancements in cloud computing and artificial intelligence. And I think that probably is on every press release we see. But they've really gone in big time in terms of bringing in a whole suite of parts of their product together into this healthcare edition. So the financial management reporting stuff, which you kind of expect, the ability to bring in inventory management. So if you're in the pharmacy space, obviously, clearly that's a very critical part of what you do. The ability to bring together asset and lease management for things like, for example, offices, but also medical devices and vehicles. And then there are some elements around compliance and security and enhanced user activity auditing, just to make sure that you've got the maximum amount of control, which obviously is incredibly critical because if you're working anywhere in healthcare, your accountability is really important. But clearly, this is aimed at the moment for things like the North American market in particular, and we know how litigious that market is. So getting everything absolutely nailed down is really important.
Yeah, we seem to be seeing a lot of sector-based focus from the big players in the finance ledger suite. So we talked about iPlicit, Accounts IQ, Xledger, and now we've got the big players such as NetSuite focusing, which all makes sense, really. I've got something building on, I guess, that Xero App Store area. There is Xero are now launching an annual recertification for anyone that is listed on the Xero App Store. Now, the reason for this is to ensure that anyone that is using a Xero app is getting the best experience. So it holds those to account, not only the ones that qualify to get their app listed, which firstly, you need to go through a lot of hoops. Once you're on there, you basically could just stay on there forever. This now you have to annually recertify via a self-assessment. Now, what it's going to do is basically ask a load of questions to the developer about the integration, the business itself, the App Store listing and its accuracy and how descriptive it is, the aspiration of the business. What are they trying to achieve? What do they want their app to do? Whether they meet the certification points, so those original checklists that they need to do. So are they still meeting those as they've kind of evolved over time? And the best ways to contact them going forward. There'll also be the ability for apps to give feedback to Xero on both the certification and also the experience they're getting. Now, this is being launched in August, so everyone that's got an app listed on the Xero App Store, so that would include the XFE team, will receive an email asking them to complete the self-assessment, but the deadline is the 31st of August 2024, so they don't have very long to complete it. Now, given the fact that a lot of apps take months to complete the original listing and qualify, and as we've heard from the XFE team, from when they launched the app to when they've been on the Xero App Store has been years. That seems quite a quick turnaround. So they are putting pressure on those app devs to make sure they are maintaining what they need to do. And hopefully they're giving them a bit of a heads up on exactly what they need to do to answer the questions.
And I've got a final one from Xeinadin. I always feel that when I read an X in a firm name, that it should be a ch because of the Spanish link. So I'm like, is this Xeinadin or Xeinadin? Is it Xeinadin?
It is Xeinadin. But at least you're not going like Xavier, which really annoys me.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not that bad. But anyway, Xeinadin. So Xeinadin has bet big and partnered with Sage across all of its offices. It's a top 20 accounting firm, and they've announced a strategic partnership integrating all Sage's advanced solutions into all of its locations, and sees a consolidation of over 130 small to mid-sized accountancy practices with a team of 2,000 professionals across the UK, servicing around 80,000 clients in multiple industries. And they're planning to offer Sage's cloud-based accounting solutions to automate the client manual records and expand its advisory services in general, including Futurely, and will also include the integration of Sage HR and Sage People across the various different offices. So huge news, and I guess this is a huge endorsement to the work that Sage has done on its product and with the acquisitions that it's made for different softwares.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the similar announcements over the years from Xero, some from QuickBooks. We hadn't really heard anything like this regarding Sage for a while, and maybe this is that turning of the corner where they're winning over the cloud market, because that is quite an investment that a big firm is making to say this is our premium partner, what we're going to push out there. And the products they are talking about are all cloud native products. Sage HR and Sage People, I believe are also completely cloud native as Futurely is. It doesn't mention, as far as I could see, Sage Business Cloud Accounting, but I assume that's implied because it's using the Sage. I mean, it does. Oh no, cloud-based accounting solutions. Yeah, so it does. It's pushing the Sage Business Cloud out to all its clients as well as its preferred finance solution. So yeah, big play.
Well, we are joined again by Kevin Fitzgerald, who is master of the universe, it seems, at Employment Hero, as Ryan and I prefer to call him, the He-Man of Employment Hero. But Kevin, I guess following on from what we discussed with Ryan on the first session, it'd be really great just to understand a little bit more about what managed payroll is, how you anticipate that coming out into the market, and what that really means for accountants and bookkeepers, people in payroll who are using Employment Hero or who may want to use Employment Hero in the future.
I'll start with the He-Man comment. I hope that doesn't stick, or else I'm going to get a lot of abuse from friends and colleagues. But definitely a big fan of the early 80s cartoons. That might give you an indicator of age. Managed payroll. So we made an acquisition at the start of April of a business called Employment Innovations, who primarily ran their business in Australia, but also in the UK for the last 20 years, offering outsourced payroll services to SMEs. And it was actually, the business was owned by our CEO's father. So there's been a very close connection with the business over many, many years. And Ben, our CEO, is obviously has lived in this space for so long. He saw the transition, of businesses to the cloud, and that's how Employment Hero was born 10 years ago. So the acquisition is really, I guess it's our step into actually offering this service. Something that I'm learning more and more about the UK market as I spend more time after the move back from Singapore is there's a very high proportion of SMEs in the UK, like 60, maybe 62% that outsource their payroll. And we get a lot of people who come to look at our payroll software, who come to look at our HR software, and then ask us if we can actually take on their managed payroll. And we decided, late last year to make that acquisition, and it was finally completed in April. So the employment innovations business of, I think it was approximately 80 staff, was processing payroll payments of over £10 million. So like very experienced business. I think it was just under 1,000 clients that they were actually serving at the time. So we wanted to bring that under the umbrella of Employment Hero, but then also bring it to market. And it's been going really well to date. Like we're starting to see more and more demand building. But what we're doing actively is putting a tech lens on it and digitizing all of that business to think like a tech business, running a services business, but having people at the core actually managing the relationships with our clients.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess for me, the equivalent, it sounds like, of what this is probably maybe similar to what we see with QuickBooks in the US, where they've sort of started to take bookkeeping and services like that in-house. I guess the difference maybe by the sounds of it is what's happening is that, at least for now, QuickBooks, whilst they're kind of bringing that in-house and then sharing that back out to partners. And from what it sounds like with what you guys are doing, you're trying to provide that service all in one. So you're effectively competing with other accountants and payroll bureaus in the market. Is that a fair summary?
I think people see that as the initial reaction to it. The reality is, like, our core business is tech. Our expectations is built around tech, our unit economics. So we are still actively referring managed payroll opportunities to some of our partners where we can't take the capacity, or if it's something that's maybe too complex for us, or we don't have the right experience in that space, like that's still happening. So the way I see it, and I know it's not that black and white for a lot of people, because they would be thinking, oh, wow, am I competing with these guys who use their technology? Is in a market where there is 60 to 70% that outsource, that's a huge, space for people to go into. And you've got to work with partners to actually serve the clients properly and give them what they need.
So how do firms of accountants or bookkeepers listening to this maybe get more involved in this opportunity then? Because as you've said, there will be areas of payroll and other things that will be part of the service that you either don't have the scale or the capability to deal with. So how do we find that opportunity in ourselves, and then we can continue to work in partnership with Employment Hero?
Yeah, for anybody that is a current partner, like, to be honest, they would be our priority. For anybody that's a current partner, it's just making sure that you're engaged, with the partner relationship manager or account executive, if we call them. And for anybody who's not yet a partner, like, come and have a discussion with us. The thing to come back to is to do the right thing by the client. Like, what do they need? Like, if they need a different type of service, or they want to have an accounting firm who can offer them quite a lot more, clearly that's not us. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe just one sort of final question, just to sort of get a feel for how this sits in the market. But what's the current pricing look like? What does the structure of this service look like from your point of view?
Yeah, we've priced it at £12 per person per month, which I think is somewhere close to the middle. In fairness, like we see a real range, like, and I think that range comes from just the size of the outsourced market. Like, there's people doing it for cheaper. There's people doing it for cheaper locally, but they're, outsource overseas as well. There's premium scenarios as well. So yeah, 12 is the sticker price.
And for that £12, what do we get? Is it payroll plus HR plus the platform, et cetera, or what exactly are we getting for that?
That would be the cost of the service, not including the technology subscription. So the technology subscription will be separate to that again.
And obviously you've got the HR platform, which is where Employment Hero originated. And is there a bolt-on for additional HR advice on top of what you get through the platform, or is that something maybe you could potentially add in the future?
Yeah, we have that in Australia, but we actually advertise it, but it's partners who do it. Yeah, so if a client comes to us, we actually pass it out to partners. We are considering it, like how we actually structure that in the UK, because currently we do refer it to a partner. And I don't know if it's just a short term thing, but like we have seen an increase in demand for HR advisory. But yeah, HR advisory is definitely, it just seems to be becoming a bit more of a topic, I would say, rather than a strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. That's cool. Well, thanks for that. I think it's a pretty decent summary of where we're at, and I'm sure we've got a few more questions we can cover in future episodes.
Thanks, John.
So I have booked an Aura lady for my
fucking hell.
birthday.
What a twat.
What?
Wait.
So
Wait, can you
good.
please explain to someone that has no idea what you're talking about, i.e. me, what an aura lady is? And you say aura
right.
lady.
Aura.
Is it like Rita Ora?
No.
Is that what you've done? Is it Rita
No.
Ora's mum? You've basically
No.
you're getting Rita Ora's mum to come around and make a cake.
No. John, I'd be really curious about you turning up. I really want to read your aura here.
My aura is I don't take shit from people and make stuff up.
Oh my God,
It's
please
dark.
don't. Anyway, so basically she has a device where you put your hand on it and it channels all of the energy in your body.
Oh, fuck.
And then it emits it so that she can take a picture.
Of course it does, yeah.
And
yeah.
then
Is it made out of kryptonite?
you can take the picture and it gives you
That's
all the colours of
That's
your
real
aura.
stuff, by the way.
No, why are you hating on Superman now? Like, what did he do to you as well?
No, and krypton is an actual thing, so I don't know what
It's
you're on about.
true. It's true.
And
Wait,
so
is
is
the
aura.
device
And so is an aura. An aura is a real thing.
is the device like spherical
And
in
Aurora
nature?
Borealis is a real thing. Yeah.
So you don't believe that any individual has an aura?
Only in the sort of very subjective sense of how someone feels when they're around someone else.
Well, exactly. So now we
But
get.
that's not measurable, it's subjective.
We don't know that, John. You're
Yeah, we
not
do
an
know
aura
that. It's
expert.
called
I
science.
hired the aura expert.
No, you didn't. You hired basically someone who will sell you white sugar pills and tell you it'll cure all ills.
Well, you're not getting your aura read then, are you? Not with
So
that.
what by
I
aura
want
red?
it. No, whoa. I want his aura red. I want to see how dark it is.
If you want to spend money getting someone to read my aura, you could do that, but I'm not spending money.
I literally have no idea what it. I don't know if they'll tell you it's just a color or a smell. Like what is it supposed to be?
It's just
Yeah, you know. I'm sure I've got an aura around me. That's
yeah,
more a stench, really.
it's called flatulence.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a seeping leak. That's what it is.
Well, you know,
That was my nickname at school.
Wow, guys. Seriously.
Here comes
the best?
seeping leak.
Seeping leak. It sounds like, oh god, it sounds
I
like
think
something
you
weird,
have a
like
leaky-
K-pop South Korean or something.
No, you have a leaky aura, John. That's something about it. Look at that doubt and that hate you're giving. It's a leaky
I think you've got
aura.
a plugged aura.
Well, yeah.
Plugged.
Yeah.
Like hair in a
diminished
drain.
aura.
I think that's what.
It's
Hair in
like-
a drain. That's what. Yeah, that's John's aura. This episode is on AI in practice tools, and I'm joined by the infamous John Toon as we dive into how AI is penetrating, I guess, what we do in our day-to-day, or what we use in our day-to-day world as accountants. So, what do we mean by AI in practice tools? What do we mean by practice tools, right? I guess it's what we use to deliver our work. But how, I guess, as a start point, is AI starting to penetrate these tools? And give some examples of what these tools are.
Okay, yeah, it's, practice tools. I think most people would refer to practice tools as like people like you and I, Ryan. I think that's most of these applications of AI, particularly sort of the large language model stuff and the whole ChatGPT thing, has been in practice management tools, and then increasingly into things like Workpapers and some of the things that may be used for analyzing compliance returns and stuff like that. So we've got a few things that have come in. So we've got some stuff that's come from the likes of Pixie and Silverfin as well, and we've also got things like Tax on Demand, which have been around for a while in our space, all offering slightly different elements of AI, but also got links to ChatGPT generally in terms of what use of a large language model to help assist with the job and try and save some more time.
I'll dive into some of those you mentioned. So the likes of Pixie, and similarly, I think Carbon, where they're not using necessarily large language tools, but they are using AI to speed up work. And I believe this is to do with the email triage system that they've got. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So both of them have got a fairly similar implementation of that. And so effectively, when you're sitting in those tools, because you connect them up to your inbox, whether it's an Outlook or Gmail, or whatever, it will then analyze those. And number one, it helps you just to prioritize the emails that are coming into your inbox by analyzing the language in those emails, and then sort of suggesting, right, maybe the email for a client asking what their personal tax payment to pay might be, coming close to the deadline, should be prioritized over, say, a meeting request for a meeting in a couple of weeks, those kind of things. And then the next sort of iteration of that they also then start to do, particularly on the Pixie side, is they have also been able to start suggesting responses to some of those emails. And the example that Pixie gave on their website from a while ago was a client asking for some support for a funding application, and basically would need things like a copy of the profit and loss account and maybe a forecast if that had been done and things like that. And you could see in their demo that it sort of went into the system, picked up those information, drafted a potential response, and then it was there ready for you to review before you reply properly.
Yeah, well, that is definitely getting rid of us as practice tools, John, when we can kind of use the large language models and a predictive AI to preempt what a client's asking for and give it an answer. Obviously, review is really important here because they don't get it 100% correct. But email triage as a whole, I think, is a great concept, right? I think that's insane development from where we have been maybe like 4 or 5 years ago of just normal emails.
To be fair, I don't think it's much different from kind of like the traditional PA model that you might have had quite a while ago, which someone would sitting in your emails, looking at them, helping you to kind of like delete the stuff that's irrelevant, prioritize the things that need to be prioritized, and even potentially suggesting responses, and then you as a practitioner would review those. So I guess we've kind of we've gone full circle back to the 1970s.
The other thing is that I guess in the practice management space, we do have some tools that do predictive timesheets now. So you've got ones out there that are tracking what you do throughout the day. They're looking at how you're interacting with the various systems, and then they are predicting what your timesheets should be. So they're prompting that. And I think for those that have been in accounting, maybe not the top end nowadays, but for a long time, getting rid of timesheets or speeding up timesheets by predicting what I've done, so I can just push a button and say that's great, is an amazing step forward, and I think would be cheered from every single accountant out there doing timesheets. The challenge at the moment is those tools are still not expensive, but they're still an investment, and I think that we need the price to come down a little bit and built into the more general day-to-day practice management tools to really see that kind of get rolled out across the entire industry. The other thing I guess that we should dive into is, as you alluded to, we're going away from practice management now to working papers, to tax preparation, to audit work. You mentioned Silverfin, so can you dive into a little bit about how Silverfin's AI works?
Yeah, so I think it's fair to say that with Silverfin, they're probably one of the market leaders, I think, in the use of AI within products, and certainly to the point of having made an investment in acquiring an AI business. I think it's 2 or 3 years ago now. They got wrapped into the product, and they use it in 2 specific ways. Number one is at the front end of the product. When you're initially setting up a new set of working papers, one of the things that you have to do, whether it's a new client or a pre-existing client, is map the client's trial balance into their system so that you can then start doing the working papers. If you're mapping, say, a raw Excel trial balance, which maybe doesn't have some of that data in the background, it can be quite difficult, and it's literally, you can be going like 1-for-1 to match sales into sales and debtors into debtors, etc. And what they do is they use some analysis of both the nominal codes, but also the nominal detail in terms of the words, to try and then match that in, and then effectively just present a set of exceptions. And I've seen it working. I've used it myself, and it's got a very, very high hit rate in terms of being quite accurate. Very rarely do you have to sort of change it and things, which is incredibly reliable. The other thing that they then have, which is towards the sort of tail end of the process, is that they have the ability to effectively review some of the working paper schedules and maybe highlight potential anomalies. So the classic example that I've seen in that is if you have dividends in the working papers and the accounts, which may be in excess of either the profit or the reserves, it will just flag that and sort of say, hey, you might want to check this because it might not be quite accurate, or they might have got too high a dividend in the systems. You might need to amend it.
Some of it is probably pretty obvious, but it's removing the mundane. It's elevating the skill set. And that's what we want to be using AI tools for. We don't want to be replacing, I guess, the more artistic elements that we enjoy doing. We want to remove the mundane. And I mean, a big area for this has always been audit, because this is really what Inflow have hung their hat on, is the ability to use predictive tools to assess and determine risk. And I believe that they've been kind of developing that over, a decade now? I don't know how long, but it feels like a decade.
I think Inflow as a product's been around for about 6 years, maybe a little bit longer now. So, but they certainly had what they call the Inflow Assistant baked into the product from the very beginning, and effectively that is, it's a use of sort of predictive analysis and machine learning to a degree to kind of help you as part of the process to do certain things. So again, for example, one of the modules that I've got is a module called Detect, which allows you to do journal testing, which is kind of like one of the critical tests that you have to do during an audit to identify management override and potential fraud risks. And what they allow you to do is, as part of setting up that module, you've got a series of risk settings that you've got to go through in terms of determining, say, the kind of values that you're interested in, the volume of transactions that may be a trigger, and a whole bunch of other things, including things like identifying keywords. So, as a director's name in there, in a journal, is there the word fraud or risk or something like that it'll flag. And you can allow the Inflow Assistant to kind of predetermine some of those settings for you. And then as the auditor, you can go in and just review that and say, are you comfortable with those settings or not? So that's kind of a fairly basic one. One other one that I would throw in as well, which is just coming out, is Data Snipper, which is another audit tool. Again, are using large language models now to start to help you to analyze things like legal documents, leases, etc., to help you with the audit work of reviewing properly, things like that, to extract key bits of information and then tell you whether or not it's consistent with not just the legal document and what you're expecting, but also maybe the accounting side of it, and maybe to account for a lease. It will then sort of try and predetermine some of the information that you would need elsewhere. It's very early stages for that, but that is coming imminently into the product.
Yeah, what I've always loved is where it feels both audit and accounts work or I guess accounts ledger are going, in the fact that in the future you'll be able to have real-time fraud risk, because if you've got a cloud-based system, you can plug in a tool that's already kind of churning through and determining whether transactions may be fraudulent or not. Then real-time fraud detection is going to be definitely one that will be in the future. We're just waiting for, I guess, those mid-tier businesses, mid-tier accounting solutions to get to a certain scale to make it profitable to plug these in and start running them.
I would suggest, certainly in the audit space, that you've kind of got the tools already to be able to verify transactions as they flow through an accounting system. Maybe not quite so easy when you've got other operational systems, payroll, etc., to kind of pull in. But we've already got OCR technology like Dex, etc., allows you to extract information from invoices. You've got open banking technology that allows us to see the transactions as they're being paid, and we've got the general ledger analytics tools to be able to sort of see those transactions flow through the accounting system. So you kind of plug all those things together, and you think that we're not a million miles away. But it's something I've been sort of asking all of these various products to kind of think a bit more holistically about in terms of the space. And the challenge, I think, is bringing them together. I think one of the product that I'm aware of, again, it's in beta at the moment, but there's a product called Macy that does a little bit of that fraud detection work in terms of looking at transactions flowing through products like Xero and trying to flag those and looks at open source data from things like Companies House and other places to try and validate information around your customers and suppliers as well to maybe flag risks as they potentially might occur. Like I say, it's very much in beta at the moment, so it's not out there for people to use very much. And I think it needs a little bit of polishing to make it a really effective product.
Yeah, it's exciting space. And then we've got Tax on Demand, or TOD, that has started to penetrate the tax planning market by ingesting all of the UK tax code. I know it's a huge amount of pages ingested, so that if you ask it a question, it should be able to bring back an answer in a reasonable accuracy, or I'm sure it says a very high accuracy, more accurate than, I guess, feeding a question to ChatGPT and it finds some comment on Google and goes, "This is the answer." And I know I've been following their journey for quite a while, and they've released literally a ChatGPT style Q&A like system, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, and I think that was sort of offered up as it was almost like a sideshow to the main product, because the main product of Todd is to be able to analyze both tax returns and accounts in sort of real time as it happens, as it goes through the compliance process, to help you identify potentially like missed opportunities when it comes to tax planning or tax reliefs that may have been missed along the way. And again, that is using various bits of AI to help with that process. But the chatbot that you're talking about does use ChatGPT, and I think they were one of the very early products to really get out there, train a model on as you say, all of the tax code plus all of the supplementary information that goes with that, to provide a chatbot that should answer pretty much any tax question you've got in the UK. And I know from personal experience of trying to build something like that yourself, there are challenges and limitations within products like ChatGPT in terms of the number of documents you can upload or the volume of the actual words in those documents. So what they have built is probably fairly it's definitely bespoke. It's probably the only product that I'm really aware of that does that out there. I know there are one or two others that do things specifically around VAT or R&D, but not across the whole tax code. So if you've got a tax query, I reckon the Todd chatbot is the way to go.
Definitely, and I just hope the market is ready for it, because it seems so advanced that maybe there's going to be some reticence, some concern from probably the more traditional departments, being tax, that are slightly more prudent. We need to make sure everything's 100% accurate for good reason, right? The bit I think what we need to discuss, John, is that we're seeing a lot of interesting developments over in the US. And I know you were talking about one earlier to me. Was it called Materia? Is that right?
Materia, yeah. And essentially what it does is it's using a mixture of large language models and extraction technologies to again do something relatively simple. And it's something that I've seen demoed by a few products that have kind of like suggested this as things that you might be able to do. But again, it allows you to add to their system a whole bunch of things. So you can add things like accounting standards, you can add audit standards, you can add potentially even some tax information. What you can then do is you can start to upload documentation into there, and again, it would suggest either potential tests or queries that you might want to ask that documentation, so you don't have to think of the prompts yourself. So it could be, for example, you want to upload a lease, and you'll then suggest like a series of questions, which would be how much is the annual rent? Is there a break clause? Is there a renewal notice period? Things like that. All these things which would feed into typically, I guess, audit work, but also potentially accounts work in terms of just helping you to pick up information that'd be relevant. And it can also then, once you kind of use those pre-built queries and stuff, it can also then suggest what some of the accounting treatment would be off the back end, and not just the numbers in terms of how would you bring a lease into accounting, particularly now that we've got some changes to lease accounting coming in the UK in the not too distant future. But it will also help you with things like the disclosures that will be required as well, to help you kind of draft all of those things up. So I guess probably similar into some concepts to what Dextender are doing, but also slightly different as well, certainly in my mind, to what they've built out. And I think the only thing that I've seen which is reasonably similar to that was a product that Engine B demonstrated at an ICAW conference a while ago, but they've subsequently been acquired, and I'm not quite sure where the development of that product is.
Oh, that is a shame if some interesting development's been canned. I get fed up when that happens, when tech businesses get bought. The other one I've seen from the US, which I think is going to have a huge impact on the tax compliance side, is what Intuit have been building into TurboTax, which is the ability for the tool to ingest any document, pretty much that's got tax information on, extract the relevant tax information, put that into a tax preparation form, be that digital, and then automatically sense check it. So benchmark that, have what I have extracted. Does that look reasonable based on just normal numbers we'd expect for this type of income, the context of this individual that I'm doing a tax preparation for, and then kind of raise flags, notifications based on risk, going, well, this I think to be like 100% accurate or 99% accurate. This I'm not sure of, and flag it for attention. So you are receiving information from clients, creating the tax return and first draft, and actually creating the approval process or review process. I think on the back of that, similar to what we've been talking about from ChatGPT perspective, it starts creating queries that you can send automatically across to your clients. That is nuts. Like the whole, I guess, UK accounting market is built on the bread and butter of tax compliance and assisting individuals that struggle to do their own tax returns. If it's going to be automated by AI, that's going to be so disruptive. And I know that Intuit are all out on this, because as we reported on App News, I don't know when now, but Intuit are basically releasing 1,800 10% individuals, 10% of their workforce. They're getting rid of them to replace them with people that can do AI to enhance this further. I mean, it's just nuts, isn't it, John?
Just that concept of being able to do so much of the process, I think is, as you say, Ryan, it's absolutely phenomenal. When it comes to compliance in particular, we're all about improving efficiency, trying to get the job done as quickly as possible, and so that we can concentrate on delivering other services. And this is certainly what Intuit are focused in on here with TurboTax. I think, again, in the UK, probably the only thing that we've got kind of close to that is I know that the guys at FD Intelligence have built some extraction technology to allow you to do maybe that first part of that process. And I know that they're very heavily involved in working with the likes of CCH around doing that for personal tax purposes. And they've done some work around payroll in terms of extracting information to go into payroll systems. But what Intuit have got with TurboTax and that whole end-to-end process, it just sounds absolutely phenomenal. And I guess for me, it'd be really interesting to see how quickly that gets adopted in the US. In terms of do firms ditch their incumbent products and move to that, or will there be some sticky transition in terms of accountants sort of push back on that, feeling that it is taking their work away from them?
Well, I think one of the main things and the differentiator in the US compared to the UK is that 90% of businesses use both Intuit QuickBooks and TurboTax. So I guess a lot of the accountants are used to working on the system anyway. It's enhancing their service, and it's probably not going to be too far from the future where individuals, it's released to individuals, they can do it themselves. And we can't say it doesn't appear in, it's not going to come over to the UK. Oh, look, Intuit are doing over there, we don't have to worry about it. We haven't got TurboTax over here. Because as you say, we've got products now that are building into CCH, personal tax, and I know that TTech are building this into their practice gateway solution as well. So it is coming over here. It may be a bit later, but it is coming over. Look, there's a lot we've talked about today. There are lots of tools out there that are using AI. They're all modern, they're all new, and most of the accounting practices over here use traditional tools. If you are interested in AI, you want to use them, you're going to have to take a leap of faith. You're going to have to start looking to adopt some of these new tools. And you're going to have to understand that when doing that, to get the most out, because you're investing in these tools, you're paying a bit more money to use them, is you're going to have to consider the balance between the tech spend and your people spend in your business. And over time, you're going to have to get that balance, I guess, a little bit more even.
There we have it. That's the end of another episode of Digital Tools and Accrual World podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Fairly short news this time around. So if you're from an app vendor or an acquirer or even a venture capital or PE-backed business, can you be a bit more active, please, and do some more exciting things or develop some more products or something? Appreciate it's coming to summer, so you might all be wanting to take a break. But this is our one solitary request from you all. But as I said at the top, look, we'd really love you to rate, bookmark our podcast. It's really great to hear any feedback you have, and we really appreciate it. Obviously, if there's anyone you want to hear us talk to on the pod, we're delighted to try and get people on as a guest and find out what's going on within their world. So there you have it. Look forward to the next episode.
It's not that big.